You're listening to Daily Newscast, episode 16, October 3rd, 2025.
Welcome, everyone.
Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the big global news stories of the day and we really break them down for you.
Yeah, our goal is to help you get informed quickly, but also, thoroughly and clearly.
Exactly. And this deep dive, well, it's specifically designed with you in mind, especially if you're using this to practice and sharpen your English skills.
That's right. We really focus on using clear, accessible language. We aim for a smooth conversational flow, and we deliberately keep the rhythm just a little bit slower than your typical news blast.
We want this to be something you can easily listen to while you're maybe walking the dog, cooking dinner, or even just focusing on other tasks.
And look, if at any point it feels like we're going a bit too quick, remember you can easily adjust the playback speed in your app settings. Try maybe 0.75x speed. That might be perfect.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to connect some really high-stakes global events, pull out the key insights, and make sense of it all.
And we've organized the news, well, strategically, you could say. We're starting with a story that has huge global political impact.
Right. And then we'll move through some major developments in technology, finance, high-stakes sports, and we'll wrap things up with some pretty exciting news and entertainment.
So let's quickly run through the main categories for today.
Okay. First up, culture. We're looking at a major political turmoil unfolding in France. Nationwide strikes have actually led to the prime minister resigning.
Then technology.
Yeah.
Some serious stuff here involving Tesla. There are major lawsuits over a fatal Cybertruck door design flaw, plus a whole string of safety recalls.
After that, we'll hit finance. Elon Musk has just hit a historic milestone, a net worth of $500 billion. We'll look at what's driving that, including Tesla's record delivery numbers.
Next up is sports. We're diving into the start of the Formula One Singapore Grand Prix. There's already been drama with a car fire and the first ever official heat hazard declaration for a race.
And finally, entertainment. Some big news for Peaky Blinders fans, confirmation of a sequel series, plus details on the upcoming movie, The Immortal Man.
Wow, that's quite a lineup. A really packed day of news.
It is indeed. So let's get started. We're beginning with France, where things seem politically, well, quite fragile right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's set the scene in France. Yesterday, October 2nd, the country saw these massive nationwide strikes. It was a really big mobilization organized by the main trade unions.
Yeah, and this wasn't just, a random protest. It felt very strategically timed. It put immediate, intense pressure right on the government.
And what was the core issue driving these strikes?
Well, the purpose was incredibly specific. They're protesting against proposed austerity measures. Those are essentially cuts in government spending. And they're also against the draft 2026 national budget.
Okay.
This whole mobilization came about because negotiations between the unions and the prime minister at the time, Sébastien Lecornu, they completely failed. The unions felt like, well, this is their only option left. Strike action.
Right. Bring the country to a halt, basically.
Pretty much.
And what about the turnout? Was it huge?
Well, the official numbers from the Interior Ministry estimate about 195,000 people demonstrated across France.
Right.
In Paris, the number was around 24,000. Now, compared to some previous massive protests in France, these numbers weren't record-breaking, but they still show a really significant widespread opposition, enough to cause major disruption.
And where did the main protests happen? In Paris, for example.
So the main route in Paris started at Place d'Italie, which is a well-known spot, and it headed towards Place Vauban, kind of a wealthier area. But the impact, it went way beyond just the marching routes. It hit daily life hard.
How so? What kind of disruptions are we talking about?
Well, really tangible things. The Eiffel Tower, probably the most famous symbol of Paris.
Yeah.
It announced it was closing for the whole day.
Yeah.
Staff were striking. And it wasn't just that. Other cultural spots, too. Parts of the Louvre Museum, some rooms there, and the Musée de Cluny, they were also partially closed. So yeah, when a big strike hits, cultural life really does pause.
And travel must have been difficult.
Oh, definitely. For anyone trying to get around, especially commuters, transport was a headache. Now, interestingly, the main Paris metro lines and the trams, they were mostly running okay this time.
Oh, okay. That's different from some past strikes.
It is. But the commuter rail lines, the ones bringing people into Paris from the suburbs, specifically the RERD line and the Transilien line R, they were severely disrupted. Major problems there. Thousands of people scrambling.
So this level of disruption, the sustained pressure, It led to a major political casualty, right?
It did. The direct consequence was that the Prime Minister, Sébastien Lecornu, was forced to resign.
That seems incredibly fast. A quick downfall.
It does seem fast, but, it's actually part of a bigger picture of instability. It's not an isolated event.
Right. Didn't the previous prime minister also leave recently?
Exactly. Just last month, September 2025, the former PM, François Bayrou, he was ousted through a no-confidence vote in Parliament.
So the country's been kind of rudderless.
Pretty much navigating a political vacuum, yeah? Essentially without a stable, fully functioning government, right when they needed to debate the crucial national budget. It's a critical time to be without clear leadership.
So what's the root cause here? It sounds like more than just unpopular policies. Is there a deeper structural problem?
Well, according to political analysts, the fundamental issue is what they call a splintered parliament.
Splintered parliament, meaning?
Meaning it's broken into factions with no clear majority. This really stems from President Macron's decision back in 2024 to call a snap election. That election didn't give any single political group a clear win.
Ah.
So the result is a legislature split almost evenly into three main rival blocs. You got the far left, the centrists, which is Macron's coalition, and the far right.
And crucially, none of them can command a majority on their own.
Precisely. And unlike some other countries where opposing parties might form coalitions to govern, even temporary ones, France has really struggled to bridge these divides.
So passing anything major, like a budget, becomes almost impossible.
A legislative nightmare, exactly. It creates this situation where protests like these can actually gain enough traction to, well, bring down the leader appointed by the president.
Okay, so back to the current crisis, the austerity debate. The unions are demanding an end to cuts.
Right. Cuts to public services like healthcare, education, transport. They want those protected.
And how do they propose funding that?
Their main call is for higher taxes on the wealthiest people and corporations. They argue the current budget draft puts too much burden on working families and protects corporate interests.
And how's that tax the rich idea going down with the political opposition?
Fiercely opposed, as you might expect. Eric Ciotti, he's the leader of the main center-right opposition party, the Union of the Right for the Republic. He publicly called the idea madness.
Strong words.
Very. He argued it's pursuing a far-left ideology and warned it would be economically self-destructive. His point is that it would just drive wealthy taxpayers and crucial investors out of France.
Ultimately shrinking the economy and the tax base.
Exactly. It's that classic ideological clash. Prioritize social funding and redistribution versus prioritizing economic growth and competitiveness through lower taxes. A really tough balance.
Okay, that's a really deep structural crisis unfolding in France. Now, let's pivot quite sharply. We're moving from accountability in government to accountability in the corporate world, specifically focusing on electric vehicles.
Yeah, we're turning our attention to Tesla, which is currently facing some really serious safety questions and major lawsuits.
And this first story, it's just tragic. It involves a lawsuit related to the Cybertruck.
It really is. It highlights a potential dark side to some of this sleek, modern design. The lawsuit was filed by the families of two young people, Krista Tsukahara, who was 19, and Jack Nelson, 20.
And they were killed in a Cybertruck crash back in November 2024 in California.
That's right. A really horrific incident.
And the core of the lawsuit, the central claim, it's about the electronic door system, isn't it?
Exactly. The families are alleging that the electronic doors effectively became a death trap.
How so? What happened?
Well, the Cybertruck crashed into a tree, and then tragically it caught fire. The crucial point is that when the vehicle's electric power failed because of the crash and fire, Krista, who was in the back seat, was trapped. The lawsuit claims she couldn't find or operate the manual door releases to escape the smoke and flames.
Oh my goodness. So the backup system failed or wasn't accessible.
That's the allegation, that the basic safety mechanism, the manual release, wasn't accessible or functional when it was most desperately needed.
There was an eyewitness account too, wasn't there? Someone tried to help.
Yes, a friend of the victims, Matt Riordan, he was apparently driving behind them and rushed to the scene immediately.
What did he say?
His account is just harrowing. He said he smashed the front window and managed to pull one passenger out. But despite frantic efforts, he just couldn't open the other doors, especially the rear ones, to get Krista out.
So the innovative design, the electronic doors, became a fatal flaw in that emergency.
That's precisely what the lawsuit contends. Krista's father, Carl Tsukahara, spoke out, questioning how a company, as he put it, worth $1 trillion, or nearly as we'll discuss later, could release something where a basic escape route fails when the power cuts out.
And the lawsuit goes further, right? It suggests Tesla might have known about potential issues.
It does. It alleges that this risk isn't entirely new. The claim is that Tesla has been aware of potential problems with its electronic door systems, and specifically the risk of people being trapped if power fails, for over a decade, across multiple models.
Over a decade. Wow. If that's true, it suggests a known vulnerability might have been carried over into the Cybertruck design.
That's the implication, yes. It strengthens the argument that this wasn't an unforeseen issue.
And speaking of potential systemic issues, federal regulators are also looking into Tesla doors, but on a different model.
That's right. Adds another layer here. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, they're conducting a separate investigation. This one focuses on the door handles of the 2021 Model Y.
And what's the specific issue with the Model Y doors?
This investigation is specifically about being able to open the doors manually from the outside if the electronic system fails.
Wait, you mean like for first responders?
Exactly. Regulators noted that in that specific failure scenario on the Model Y, there's currently no way for someone outside the car, like a rescuer, to open the door manually.
That seems like a huge oversight.
It's a major safety flag. You can imagine first responders wasting precious seconds trying to figure out how to get into the car, or having to resort to breaking windows when a simple manual exterior release should exist.
So you have this tragic lawsuit about the Cybertruck's internal rear releases, and now federal scrutiny on the Model Y's external access. How's Tesla responding?
Well, Tesla's chief designer, Franz von Holzhausen, has publicly acknowledged the issue. He confirmed the company is actively working on new designs to improve accessibility in emergencies.
So an admission of sorts that improvements are needed.
It certainly suggests a recognition of the problem, yes.
But the safety concerns around the Cybertruck aren't just limited to the doors, are they? It's had a pretty rough history with recalls since it launched.
Rough is putting it mildly. It's been quite troubling, actually. The latest recall is massive. It covers virtually all Cybertrucks delivered so far. That's 46,096 vehicles from the 2024 and 2025 model years.
Almost 50,000 vehicles recalled again. And how many recalls is that now for the Cybertruck?
This marks the 8th recall in just 15 months since deliveries first started.
8 recalls in 15 months. That seems incredibly high for a new vehicle.
It's highly unusual, yes. It raises serious questions about quality control and perhaps the rush to market.
So what specific problems triggered this latest massive recall?
This one focused on something called the cant rail panel. It's an exterior piece, mostly cosmetic, made of stainless steel, running along the windshield.
Oh, okay.
The problem was that this panel could actually detach while the truck was being driven. Apparently so, turning it into a pretty dangerous piece of debris on the road for other drivers.
What caused that? Poor manufacturing.
The root cause was identified as inadequate adhesive used during assembly. The report said the adhesive was susceptible to environmental embrittlement. Basically, it could break down over time due to weather.
Not ideal for an exterior panel. I think I saw pictures of that online, peeling off.
Exactly. It looked quite dramatic, and that's just the latest one.
Right, you said 8 recalls. What were the others?
It's been a real mix, suggesting issues across different systems. There were recalls for accelerator pedals getting stuck under interior trim.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
Very. Also, loose trim pieces on the trunk bed, again due to adhesive problems. There were issues with drive wheels suddenly losing power because of faults in the electric inverter.
Power loss while driving. Also not good.
Not good at all. And even
Yeah.
seeming in simpler things, like faulty windshield wiper motors failing. It paints a picture of a vehicle, perhaps rushed, with multiple quality control lapses across the board.
It really compounds the seriousness of that lawsuit over the door mechanism failure, doesn't it? It suggests maybe broader issues.
It certainly adds to the narrative of potential systemic problems, yes.
It really is a striking contrast, isn't it? To go directly from discussing these life and death safety concerns and recalls at Tesla
Yeah.
to the absolutely mind-boggling financial success of its CEO, Elon Musk. It's almost jarring.
It's an incredible dichotomy, isn't it? So let's talk about the money. On Wednesday, October 1st, just a couple of days ago, Elon Musk officially became the first person ever to cross the $500 billion net worth threshold.
$500 billion.
$500 billion,
Right.
according to both the Bloomberg Billionaires Index and the Forbes real-time tracker. Now, his wealth is famously volatile, tied to stock prices. So it did dip slightly below that mark shortly after and settled around, I think, $499.1 billion by the end of the day. But
Yeah.
still, that $500 billion ceiling has officially been breached.
That number is just hard to even comprehend. What's driving this massive surge right now? Is it all down to Tesla stock?
Tesla is definitely the biggest piece of the puzzle, but his wealth is actually concentrated across three huge ventures.
Okay.
First, yes, Tesla. He owns about 19.7% of the company. And crucially, Tesla stock has been on an absolute tear recently. It's rallied nearly 100% just since April of this year.
Doubled in value in about 6 months. Wow.
Incredible run. That's fueled a huge part of this net worth jump.
But it's not just Tesla, right? His other companies are massive contributors too.
Absolutely. And they provide some diversification, some resilience if Tesla faces headwinds. SpaceX, his private rocket company,
Yeah.
is now privately valued at an estimated $400 billion. That company alone adds about $168 billion to his personal net worth.
Just SpaceX. Incredible.
And then there's XAI Holdings, his artificial intelligence venture. That's relatively newer, but already has an estimated value of around $113 billion, adding another, say, $60 billion to his fortune.
So Tesla, SpaceX, XAI. These three pillars are pushing him into this unprecedented territory.
Exactly. They're all performing incredibly well, at least in terms of valuation.
So the immediate question becomes, is he going to be the world's first trillionaire?
That's certainly the speculation, and many analysts believe it's not a matter of if, but when.
And when might that be? Any estimates?
Some forecasts suggest he could hit that trillion-dollar mark as early as 2033.
Wow, less than a decade.
A lot of that forecast is based on potential new compensation packages being proposed for him. These are tied directly to hitting ambitious performance targets at his companies,
Performance targets
like massive increases in market capitalization.
Yeah.
If these packages are fully unlocked, they'd grant him additional stock, potentially worth over $130 billion. And hitting those targets could, in theory, push Tesla's market cap alone towards something like $8.5 trillion.
$8.5 trillion just for Tesla. The numbers are staggering.
They really are.
Okay, so while Musk hits these personal financial highs, Tesla, the company, is also reporting major wins, specifically on the delivery front for the third quarter.
Absolutely. Operationally, Q3 was a huge success for Tesla. They announced record quarterly deliveries, 497,099 vehicles.
Nearly 500,000 cars in 3 months.
Yep. And that significantly beat analyst expectations. Most were predicting somewhere between 443,000 and maybe 448,000 deliveries.
So a big beat. And I heard something significant about production versus deliveries.
That's right. This was actually the first time that Tesla's quarterly deliveries surpassed their production numbers. They produced about 447,500 vehicles, but delivered almost 50,000 more than that.
Meaning they had to dip into existing inventory to meet the demand.
Exactly. Demand was outstripping immediate supply in Q3.
Why such a huge surge in demand specifically in Q3, particularly in the United States?
Well, there was a very specific, very powerful driver: the impending expiration of the federal electric vehicle tax credit. That's the $7,500 incentive.
Ah, right. That was ending.
It was set to expire on September 30th. So naturally, consumers in the United States were rushing to place orders and lock in that $7,500 saving before the deadline hit.
And Tesla capitalized on this rush.
Oh, absolutely. They engaged in some very clever, aggressive marketing around the deadline.
How did they make sure people could qualify even at the last minute?
Well, Tesla clarified that even just placing an order deposit before the September 30th cutoff could secure the credit, even if the car wasn't physically delivered until later.
Okay, so that opened a window for people.
It created this sort of frantic buying window for customers to lock in the benefit with a relatively small upfront commitment.
And didn't they launch a new model variant right at the very end, too?
They did. That was the final push. Just hours before the tax credit expired, Tesla dramatically launched the new Model Y performance variant in the United States.
Wow, talk about timing.
Exactly. The timing ensured that anyone making a cash purchase of this desirable new model right then and there could immediately qualify for the $7,500 incentive. It shows incredible market agility.
Clearly paid off in those record Q3 numbers.
No doubt about it.
Now, beyond the cars, you mentioned diversification earlier. How's Tesla's energy business doing? Is that becoming significant?
It really is. It's often overshadowed by the excitement around the cars, but it's a crucial and rapidly growing part of the business. It provides a hedge against, fluctuations in the auto market.
So what are the numbers there?
In Q3, Tesla deployed 12.5 gigawatt hours of energy storage. battery storage solutions, basically.
And how does that compare?
That's nearly double the amount they deployed in the same quarter last year.
Yeah.
So massive growth. It shows the company's becoming much more than just a car company. Energy infrastructure is a huge piece now.
And one last thing on that new Model Y performance you mentioned, it got a feature previously only on the Cybertruck.
Yes, a pretty significant one for consumers. It now includes vehicle-to-load capability, or V2L.
V2L? What's that?
It's a type of bidirectional charging. It basically allows the car's battery to power external devices and appliances. You can plug things into your car.
Like turning the car into a giant mobile battery pack.
Exactly. You could potentially power tools, camping equipment, maybe even some home appliances during a power outage.
Yeah.
It's a feature people have really wanted.
And that was only on the very expensive Cybertruck before.
Correct. Now it's available on the much more mainstream, hugely popular Model Y performance that significantly boosts the utility and appeal of the Model Y for a lot of buyers.
Okay, from high finance and cutting-edge tech, let's switch gears again this time to high-speed action and some pretty unique safety challenges in motorsport.
Right, we're heading to the 2025 Formula One Singapore Grand Prix weekend, which is just getting underway.
And Singapore, that's always known as one of the toughest races on the F1 calendar, isn't it? Physically demanding.
Oh, incredibly so. It's a combination of the high heat, even though they race at night, and the really intense humidity. It's just brutal for the drivers inside the cockpit.
So, what's been happening on track so far? Any practice results?
Well, in the first practice session, free practice 1, the veteran Fernando Alonso actually set the fastest time.
Alonso. Still got it.
He certainly does. It was a big moment for him, and Aston Martin, apparently it ended a 2-year wait for him to top any F1 practice session.
Yeah.
Shows he's still right up there.
Who is behind him?
Ferrari's Charles Leclerc was second quickest, so the usual suspects near the top.
But the session didn't exactly start smoothly for everyone, did it? I heard there was some drama in the pit lane.
Yeah, quite a shocking start for the Williams driver, Alex Albon.
What happened?
His car actually caught fire while it was in the pit lane. It seems to have been a brake fire. The heat buildup was so intense the brakes just ignited.
Wow. In the pit lane?
Right there. It forced him out of the session really early. That's a huge setback on a track like Singapore, where track time is critical for finding the right setup.
Definitely not the start he wanted. Okay, besides that incident, the really big story coming out of Singapore seems to be this new heat hazard declaration. This is a first for F1, right?
It is. A complete first. And it signals just how seriously the governing body, the FIA, is taking driver welfare now, especially after what happened in Qatar last year.
Yes, I remember that. Some drivers were really struggling, weren't they? Severe heat exhaustion.
Exactly. Several drivers suffered badly from dehydration. Some were close to fainting after the race. It was quite alarming. So this heat hazard declaration for the whole Singapore weekend is a direct response to prevent that happening again.
So what actually triggers this declaration? Is there a specific threshold?
Yes, there's a clear rule now. It gets triggered if the weather forecasts before the race weekend predict ambient air temperatures of 31 degrees Celsius or higher during any session.
31 Celsius. That's about 88 Fahrenheit.
Right. And given the forecasts for Singapore, combined with that punishing humidity, the declaration was basically mandatory for this weekend.
Okay, so the heat hazard is declared. What does that mean teams have to do? What changes are mandatory?
The key requirement is that teams must fit a driver cooling system for their drivers.
A cooling system? Like what? Air conditioning?
Not quite air conditioning, but usually specialized cooling vests worn under their fireproof race suits.
Right.
Or similar systems designed to actively cool the driver's body. It's now a non-negotiable safety measure in these extreme conditions.
But wait, in Formula One, every single gram counts, right? Doesn't adding a cooling system affect the car's weight, which is tightly regulated?
It absolutely does, and the FIA thought about that. There's a specific rule adjustment to account for it.
Okay.
Because the cooling system adds mass, the rules state that drivers using it must compensate by adding 0.5 kilograms, that's about 1.1 pounds of ballast, which is just extra weight, fixed inside the cockpit.
I see. So they gain the cooling benefit, but they have to carry a small weight penalty to keep things fair and within the overall weight limits.
Precisely. It's a trade-off. A tiny potential performance hit from the extra weight traded for a significant, potentially race-saving improvement in driver well-being and safety.
How have the drivers reacted to this mandatory cooling?
Very positively from what we've heard. George Russell, the Mercedes driver, who's also a director of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, so he represents the driver's interest,
Bucky?
he explicitly welcomed it.
What do you say?
He painted a pretty vivid picture. He described the cockpit in Singapore with 90% humidity as being like a bit of a sauna. He mentioned internal temperatures inside the car can reach nearly 60 degrees Celsius during the race.
60 Celsius. That's over 140 Fahrenheit inside the car.
Unbelievable conditions to perform at peak physical and mental capacity for 2 hours. So yeah, the cooling is seen as essential.
Definitely. Now, just before we move on a more personal note, Lewis Hamilton is racing this weekend, despite some sad news, isn't he?
Yes, that's right. He shared publicly that he was really overwhelmed by the support he received after his beloved bulldog, Roscoe, passed away last Sunday from pneumonia.
Oh, that's sad. Roscoe was quite famous in the paddock.
He really was. Hamilton called Roscoe the most important thing of my life, which shows how much he meant. He said the amazing outpouring of support from fans and the F1 community really helped him process his grief and be able to focus on the race here in Singapore.
It's a nice reminder of the human side of these athletes, even amidst all the pressure and technology.
Absolutely. A touching moment.
Okay, that is a touching moment. Let's wrap up our deep dive today with probably the lightest but maybe the most anticipated news for many listeners. Some really exciting updates for fans of the Peaky Blinders universe.
Yes. Finally, some concrete news. Both Netflix and the BBC have confirmed the future of the Shelby saga, and it involves both a movie and a new series. Big news for the fan base.
Huge news. They've been waiting a long time. So let's start with the movie. It has a title now.
It does. The film is titled The Immortal Man.
The Immortal Man. Intriguing. And what do we know about the plot? When is it set?
It sounds really ambitious. It's confirmed to be set during World War II. We'll see Cillian Murphy returning, as Tommy Shelby, of course.
Wouldn't be Peaky Blinders without him.
Absolutely not. And he finds himself back in Birmingham, but it's a city that's been bombed and scarred by the war.
And what's Tommy doing during the war? Still running the business?
It seems his role has evolved. The plot details say he gets involved in secret wartime missions. Apparently, these storylines are based on some true, but little-known historical events from the Second World War.
Wow, so mixing the Shelby fiction with real wartime history?
Exactly. It sounds like the film will explore Tommy dealing with his, let's say, complicated criminal past while navigating these very high-stakes national security missions during the war.
And Cillian Murphy is starring, but he's also producing this time, right?
He is, yeah, taking a bigger role behind the scenes, too.
Who else from the original cast is coming back for the movie? Any confirmations?
Yes, a good number of fan favorites are confirmed. We've got Stephen Graham returning.
Great.
Definitely. Sophie Rundle is back as Ada Thorne, Tommy's sister. Ned Dennehy is Charlie Strong. Packy Lee is Johnny Dogs, and Ian Peck as Curly are all confirmed, too. So a strong core returning.
And where's the movie in terms of production? Are they filming now?
Are actually quite far along. The reports say it's currently in post-production, so
Okay.
editing, visual effects, that sort of thing.
Okay, so maybe not too long to wait then. Now, the thing that's really got fans talking is the new cast addition, Barry Keoghan.
Ah, yes, Barry Keoghan,
Yeah.
an incredible actor. He's joined the cast, but his role hasn't been officially announced, which has led to massive speculation online.
And what's the main theory? Who do people think he's playing?
Well, the strongest rumor by far, and this one seems to have some pretty compelling visual evidence backing it up, is that he'll be playing Duke Shelby.
Duke Shelby, Tommy's illegitimate son, right?
Oh.
Introduced near the end of the series.
That's the one. If you remember, Tommy brought Duke into the family fold, specifically intending for him to eventually take over the more illegal side of the Shelby family business, the dark side, as Tommy put it.
Okay, and what's this visual evidence that points to Keoghan playing Duke?
It comes down to a tattoo. There's a promotional image, or leaked photo, I'm not sure which, showing Keoghan in character.
Yeah.
And he has a very prominent tattoo on his hand. The tattoo is of a wagon wheel.
A wagon wheel. What's the significance of that?
The wagon wheel is a very powerful and well-known symbol associated with the Romani people, or gypsies. And Duke Shelby, if you recall his backstory, grew up outside the main family, living the more traditional nomadic lifestyle of his Romani mother.
Ah, so the tattoo is a massive clue linking him directly to Duke's heritage.
Exactly. For many fans, that wagon wheel tattoo is pretty much confirmation that Keoghan is stepping into the role of Tommy's complex adult son, who's now ready to inherit that dangerous side of the family legacy.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so the movie is set during WWII, potentially introducing Duke Shelby properly. And then what? There's a sequel series confirmed too.
That's right. The movie seems to act as a bridge. Following the film, we're getting a brand new Peaky Blinders story, and it's received a 2-season order straight away from both Netflix and the BBC.
2 seasons, that's a big commitment. When is this new series set? After the movie?
Yes, it jumps forward in time again later than the movie. This sequel series is set specifically in 1953 Britain.
Post-war Britain. And what's the focus? Still the Shelbys in Birmingham.
It seems so, but the focus shifts decisively to the next generation of the Shelby family.
Ah, okay. So maybe Duke, Finn, maybe Ada's son Carl, that generation.
Presumably, yes. The description paints a picture of Birmingham rebuilding itself out of concrete and steel after the devastation of the war bombings.
And the central conflict. Still about power and control.
Absolutely. The core drama is described as a brutal contest between various factions, likely including the younger Shelbys, fighting to control the massive and undoubtedly corruptible reconstruction projects happening in the city.
Sounds like classic Peaky Blinders territory, high stakes, family conflict, battling for control of the city, just in a new era.
Exactly. All the elements that made the original show so compelling, but applied to a new generation facing the challenges and opportunities of post-war Britain.
And what about Cillian Murphy? Will Tommy Shelby be in this sequel series at all?
It seems his role will be primarily behind the camera for this series. He is confirmed as an executive producer for these 2 new seasons.
Okay, so guiding it creatively, but maybe not starring day-to-day.
That appears to be the plan. It signals a clear passing of the torch, moving the main narrative spotlight away from Tommy's generation and focusing squarely on their children like Duke and how they will shape or perhaps destroy the family's legacy in this rapidly changing new world.
Very exciting times ahead for Peaky Blinders fans then. Movie first, then 2 seasons of The Next Generation. #outro. Well, this deep dive today, it's really highlighted some powerful contrasts, hasn't it? Moving from that political crisis in France through the corporate tech world.
It really has.
Yeah.
On one side, you have the almost unbelievable financial scale of Elon Musk hitting $500 billion, driven by Tesla's record sales and massive diversification into space, AI, energy.
Yeah, innovation and wealth creation on an unprecedented scale.
But then, juxtaposed right against that, you have the stark human consequences we discussed. The absolute tragedy alleged in the Cybertruck lawsuit over the door design.
Right.
The deep political instability forcing leaders out in France, and even the extreme measures Formula One needs to take just to keep drivers safe from environmental hazards like heat.
It really underscores that constant, complex tension in our world, doesn't it? Between power, progress, innovation, and the accountability that needs to come with it.
Absolutely.
Well, we hope this conversation has given you a clear, comprehensive, and maybe memorable look at some of the major global stories unfolding right now, and hopefully at a pace that was accessible for your English learning journey.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed connecting these themes, we really encourage you to keep digging into these topics yourself.
That's the idea. Keep exploring.
For instance, think about that point we touched on with Tesla's finances. We saw that huge Q3 sales surge, driven by the expiring tax credit in the United States.
Right.
So a question to ponder is, what happens next? What will Q4 look like for Tesla sales now that the $7,500 incentive is gone? Will demand fall off a cliff?
Right.
Or maybe the momentum from things like that new Model Y performance with V2L will be enough to keep sales strong.
Good question. Applying what you learned today to predict what might happen next, that's really what this deep dive is all about.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to Daily Newscast.
Thanks, everyone.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you tomorrow for another episode.